Merkel Media.
What does the goddamn line say, Tony?
Use gendered language.
Then what? I'll be arrested, put in airport jail?
Well, you're going completely sideways, man.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
How dare you?
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
I'm Chris Hansen with Daylight NBC.
Jack Marius Tack Theratrix.
Hi, I'm Spartacus.
Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. Steven Seagal.
Sex offender guy.
I'm Keith Morris.
This is Muammar Gaddafi.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Sorting through the lies.
Blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
We cannot track 2.3.
Covering the centuries-long plan for world domination.
Learning about Cuba, having some food.
In a Turkish prison. Swangles in Fort Lauderdale.
I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles to blow up the Sears hardware department.
Nothing could be more fun than jumping off a cliff with 2 German bisexuals.
Oh, you English are so superior, aren't you?
Thank you, comrade.
And now, macroaggressions.
That's what assholes call it.
With your host,
Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you're about to get chlamydia.
Charlie Robinson.
Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?
You want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault.
He was a retard.
I get some goddamn diuretic.
Welcome to Macroaggressions. I'm your host, Charlie Robinson. If you are watching us on Iconic, Odyssey, Rockfin, Band.video, where you're listening wherever podcasts are served, thanks so much. We appreciate your amazing support. You can follow us on Twitter at Macroaggressions. You can find the website, theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com. My books are available on Amazon if you want to check that out, or if you like the digital format. Just go to the website and we can hook you up that way. Thanks to our sponsors. Amazing to have them with us. C60 Purple Power has been fantastic. Look, it's a product you probably have never heard of unless you listen to this show. C60 is short for carbon 60. It's a molecule made up of 60 tiny carbon atoms. It's also known as Buckminster fullerene because Buckminster Fuller theorized that it was out there. He said it has to exist. A group of scientists wound up finding it. They won the Nobel Prize for their discovery. It looks like a cage-like soccer ball. It's found in nature and in the atmosphere of giant red stars. Isn't that interesting? And it is considered to be the most powerful antioxidant known. It is characterized as a free radical sponge. It works at the cellular level by lifting oxidation burden. It helps to optimize mitochondrial function by enhancing the energy production in your cell. Most people that take it notice an increase in energy and mental clarity after taking it for as little as 30 days. So I'll tell you what, do this. At the very least, go to the website and check it out. There's a link in the show notes, shopc60.com. The promo code is macro. Use that on your way out. Look, it's an incredible product, but I do have to say these statements and products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent, or mitigate any disease. Go to the website, read up about it, see if you think it's right for you. It's an amazing product. It'll help you feel a little bit more energized during the day. It promotes a memory loss, associated with aging. So if there's someone in your family that can't remember where they put their car keys all the time, well, maybe send them some of this stuff and see what you think. ShopC60.com, promo. Also, thanks to My Patriot Supply, they knew it was coming. They knew that the apocalypse was coming. They knew that you needed to get prepared. macroaggressions.com. I encourage you to go take a look, man. Get your food situation sorted out. It's more than food, though. Obviously, they have 4-week supplies of food. They have 3-month supplies of food. They'll send you 120 pounds of food in 6 different buckets if you want the 3-month supply. It'll keep a family of 4, keep you going for a couple of months. Look, that might be what you need. It might make the difference between you making it through this and not, or at least compromising your quality of life. Maybe you want to exchange some of your rapidly depreciating Federal Reserve notes for something else. Hey, storable food's not the worst place to park some of your money. I mean, look, I'm not licensed to give investment advice. I'm just saying that if you want to buy items that are going to retain their value, storable food seems to me like a pretty good idea, considering all of the things that we're facing with supply chain issues, food processing plants just up and exploding, fuckery on a national level by the Biden administration, offering farmers money to not grow their crops, cutting fertilizer into the Netherlands, cutting fertilizer by 30%, what Trudeau is proposing in Canada. Look, this is all bad, okay? This is the makings of starvation. So let's just get ahead of it, right? Let's get ahead of the curve. Let's be proactive, not reactive. It's ridiculous. We have time. Take advantage of this time. Get yourself ready. If you want to do it through my sponsor at preparewithmacroaggressions.com, great. If you want to do it on your own, that's great too. Just get yourself ready because we know it's coming. All right. Well, I read an article. Actually, I had an article sent to me by somebody that thought I might enjoy it. They were right. Article is from Corey's Digs. If you've ever been to the website, go check it out. They have good stuff over there. And I want to make sure to credit that article for being the inspiration for this episode, because it's really important that we understand the mechanisms behind the what seems a little bit disjointed. Like it seemed these things seem separate. You've got the climate change hysteria going on. You've got ESG, environmental, social, and governance. And I've talked about this on a couple of episodes. I'll talk about it more in the future. There are a lot of people out there ringing the alarm bells about this because it's a huge problem. It's going to be a huge problem. Right now, they've been silently working on it for about 15 years, the ESG. And they're trying to reconfigure the financial markets. It's an ambitious task. It's fucking insanity, let's be honest. But it's ambitious. They want to remake this whole thing. You've got BlackRock involved in it, World Economic Forum. The worst people in the world are involved in it. So it's a scam. And it's not going to be good for you, but it helps to try and understand how they're going to implement this and what it means and why they're doing it and how they're going to do it and that. So this article was about an organization called Climate Trace. The TRACE, TRACE, is actually an acronym. It stands for Tracking Real-Time Atmospheric Carbon Emissions. It's a scam, right? but let's give it the benefit of the doubt. It could be legit, right? They could be Climate Trace could just be out there trying to figure out how much deadly carbon is in the atmosphere, plant food. And they could really be on the good side of humanity. So, you have to kind of peel back a little bit and see, well, who's involved in this? Maybe they're going to help the planet. Oh, who's involved? Oh, it's just Al Gore and Eric Schmidt. That's all. Automatic disqualification. If you see Al Gore's name involved in anything relating to, well, really anything, but if you see it related to climate, it's a scam. 100%. Take it to the bank. It's a scam. If Al Gore is involved, it's a scam. Let me remind you of the chain of custody of the scamming. It goes from Rockefeller to Maurice Strong to Al Gore. Okay. Al Gore, Ken Lay, these guys are buddies. Well, they were before Ken Lay died or got moved to the island where they move all the people that they want to pretend like they put in prison, but actually move them somewhere. I don't know. I'm kind of being half facetious on that. Wouldn't be surprised, though. And then, of course, you've got Eric Schmidt. Eric Schmidt, former CEO, former chairman of Google, later to be known as Alphabet. He is in charge of the Pentagon's artificial intelligence program. I mean, like, I saw Terminator. I saw Terminator and Terminator 2. I know what happens when you're in charge of the Pentagon's AI program. Nothing good. Those robots were not delivering DoorDash. Those robots were delivering lasers, weapons. It was bad. So when you've got the Pentagon, which is just objectively the most evil place in the world, and you've got artificial intelligence from the Pentagon, and you've got the guy running that, Eric Schmidt, who is on the record saying that when you do a Google search and you get 8 million answers for your question, that's a bug, that there should only be one answer, the correct answer every time. So, paging George Orwell. So let's talk about what climate trace is. TRACE, tracking real-time atmospheric carbon emissions. TRACE is a consortium of artificial intelligence companies, universities, non-governmental organizations, NGOs, that are, they're essentially weaponizing the information that they're gathering from 300 different satellites that they use. And they're taking this information, theoretically, they're going to use that to shake down countries, corporations, individual businesses, and then ultimately individuals. We set the allowable amount of carbon, an arbitrary number, but they decide. Anything above that, you're in violation, and we tax you, and we put you in, or we stop doing business with whatever, whatever the threat is for that. But really at its core, it's a carbon credit taxation. It's cap and trade. It's what Al Gore was taught Ken Lay, working on this with Enron, and Ken Lay Ken Lay died allegedly before he was set to go to prison, and then Jeff Skilling went to prison for 25 years for it. It's a scam. Simple. It's a carbon trading scam. So it's genius. It's you have to sort of stand in appreciation for the level of psychopathy that's happening. That they're going to set an allowable limit of carbon dioxide, which we absolutely, positively have to have on this planet to live. If some artificial, anything above that, what? Why? Well, because you're killing the world, and if you're going to kill the world, you have to pay to kill the world. Like, shouldn't you stop those people from doing it? It's like, well, that's all right if they do it, as long as they pay us. Well, who made you in charge of this? And the Rockefeller Foundation, and Maurice Strong, and the Club of Rome, and all these people. The Rockefellers are in charge. They said they're in charge. They're in charge of the planet. Don't you know this? What's the matter with you? Didn't you get the memo? If you want to do anything, you have to pay the Rockefellers. So their goal is net zero for carbon emissions. And if you get to net zero, which is a really ambitious goal, but if you get to net zero, let me tell you one of the things that will happen. It doesn't really matter if I do. I'll tell you one of the things that happen. Everything else really won't matter. But the one thing that will happen is everyone will be dead. That's it. That's the end of the story. If you get to net zero carbon emissions, everybody and all the plants and everything on this planet will be dead. I mean, maybe there'll be like plankton. It's first of all, very ambitious, very psychotic, totally and yet we're starting to see this insanity get normalized. We watched it in China when they've gone to a COVID zero policy. Like, oh, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that there's no COVID at all. And you go, okay, you're going to eradicate the flu by what? Well, we're just going to weld people into their houses. So that way they can't get out and interact, and theoretically, we will definitely bring the spread down because you won't be able to leave your place and see it'll work. COVID zero. Well, first of all, it didn't work. And second of all, you had drones flying around broadcasting messages saying, stop being so selfish with your freedom, and all that crazy shit. So this is an idea that can only be psychopaths that want to run the world. But they're going to fail. This is never going to work. But they're going to make it really difficult on all of us in the process. So it pays to understand how that's going to work. And we've talked about this carbon tax and we've talked about ESG, but it's hard to figure out how you blend those together. Climate Trace is how you do that. Climate Trace is the platform for which ESG can be built from. That's why it's important. That's why they wrote this article about it. That's why people are starting to look into this, because this is the measuring apparatus for determining how much carbon is in the atmosphere, who's producing this, who is it, which country is putting this out into the world. So it's been self-reporting. You've just been, hey India, how many metric tons of carbon are you putting out from your oil and gas industry? And they're like, 9, like whatever. And they're like, all right, let's write down 9 or whatever the number is, it's self-reporting. So nobody knows. What Climate Trace wants to do is put all these satellites. Well, they're doing it. They've got 300 satellites up there and they're going to say, well, India says that their number is 9, whatever that, I'm just making that number up. Let's measure it. And then they're going to go use their satellites and go, your number is 90,000. It's not 9. You guys are polluting like crazy. You're lying about it. And we're going to tax you. Oh, okay. So now India's going to pay this tax to Al Gore and Eric Schmidt. And then you guys are going to go fix the problem in the atmosphere? They're like, what? Fix it? We never said anything about fixing it. We said we were going to tax you. You go, oh, so I can still do what I'm doing as long as I pay you a tax? Yeah, essentially. So you're not fixing it? No. You're not going to save the world? No, we're not. We're just going to get rich. Oh, okay. I mean, just come right out and say it. I'd have more respect for these guys if they just said this is a gigantic transfer of wealth from the poorest people to the richest people. Eric Schmidt doesn't need another $1 billion, by the way. So it's a massive data collection operation that is geared towards basically assigning blame to countries that produce too much carbon and then, quote, holding them accountable. Well, what does holding them accountable mean? It means you have to pay the tax. Okay, you're holding me accountable. Are you putting them in prison? Not that I would want anybody to be put in prison for this, but is that what you're doing? Are you holding them accountable that way? Are you making them dismantle their oil and gas industry? Because the World Economic Forum and the Build Back Better and the Biden administration and the Trudeau administration and those fuckers in the Netherlands, they're all trying to do that. They're most definitely trying to dismantle these organizations. So what I think is going to happen is that Climate Trace is going to use their satellite system to come up with a more accurate. It's not going to be accurate, but they'll say it's a more accurate representation of just exactly how much these countries are polluting, and then break that down by industry, and then break that down even for we're going to get into this because it gets detailed as far as their plan. It's not just countries. It will eventually work its way down to individuals, and that's extremely scary. So I think we're going to need to understand what it means by holding them accountable. I think it's behavior modification. You can't have your oil and gas industry creating this much carbon. We're going to have to shut you down. Now, how you do that to an entire country? I mean, look, bad idea. Look what's happening with Russia and the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. They turned the gas off to Germany, and Germany is fucked, or they're about to be fucked for the winter. And hey, Germany, maybe you shouldn't have put sanctions on Russia. Have you ever thought of that? Maybe you should have been playing 3-dimensional chess instead of Chinese checkers with NATO. Anyway, but so I was talking to Clint Russell. I had him on Liberty Lockdown Pod. Great show. Super smart guy. Really like him a lot. Hardcore background in finance. We were talking about the letter that Larry Fink from BlackRock. Has there ever been a better name for a guy than Larry Fink? For BlackRock, who he sent it out in 2020 to the CEOs of all of these companies. Not necessarily even companies that BlackRock owned stock in, but it basically came out and said that we won't buy your stock. BlackRock being the largest institutional holder of all of these stocks, they've got like $10 trillion of assets under management, and so he sends a letter out to everyone saying we're not going to buy your stock, which is what you would want if you're a publicly traded company and BlackRock wants to buy a bunch of your stock. It's like they're going to buy a bunch. And they're not going to sell it for a while too. So it's a good thing because you're not going to have as much volatility if BlackRock comes in. I mean, you make a deal with the devil, obviously, but from a business running standpoint, where you've got the opportunity to have one guy come in and buy a huge chunk of your stock and not sell it or not short it or anything, there's value there. So to have BlackRock buying your stock as a publicly traded company can be perceived by most people that are running the company as a good thing. So when BlackRock comes out and says, we're not buying your stock unless you're ESG compliant or you're at least on board with the ESG process, everyone goes, what does that mean? What do I have to do? Environmental, social, and governance. This is the scam. Environmental, you can't be polluting. Exxon, don't worry about them. Governance or social is how how many trans people work for you. Governance is how many underprivileged people are on your board of directors. It's dumb shit, right? Remaking of society, everybody's equitable, stakeholder capitalism instead of shareholder capitalism. This weird thing. It's global communism. So when they come out here, so he wants to take you from shareholders to stakeholders, and the stakeholders is just it's a code name for. And the World Economic Forum is deeply involved in this. So it's like if you're unsure whether or not this is a good thing or a bad thing, okay, I get it. There's a lot to unpack. If you want a quick reference point, it's like, well, who is supporting this? Like the World Economic Forum, BlackRock, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, all those people. You go, oh, okay, well, those are bad guys. And if they opposite. So if that's what you're interested in, or how you want to measure it is by who's involved? Well, the wrong people are involved with ESG, the wrong people race, and the wrong people are involved with the World Economic Forum. So, got a good quote though. This is from Elon Musk. Love him, hate him, whatever you want. He's right about this. Exxon is rated top 10 best in the world for environment, social, and governance by S&P 500, while Tesla didn't make the list. ESG is a scam. It has been weaponized by phony social justice warriors. I agree that Exxon being rated the top 10 best for ESG it's preposterous. It's laughable. I'm not going to put. I want to make sure that there is one part of that quote I disagree with. Tesla shouldn't be on the list either. I mean, he's right to say that Exxon shouldn't be in the top 10, but in no way should Tesla be on the list. It's not green. It's not green. You're having slaves mine lithium for you, for your batteries. The batteries cost damn near as much as the cars when you have to replace them. $14,000 for a brand new battery? Like, no. You're getting it. Your car is getting recharged by electricity the electricity is coming from coal burning power plants. You're just trading internal combustion of gasoline engine for coal burning power plants that is converted into electricity. There's no win here. Not to mention power grid, not to mention brownouts. California can't keep their power grid up. Texas has problems with their power grid last winter when it got hit with ice storms and things like this. This is a disaster. Okay, none of this is really environmental. If you want to buy a Tesla because it's a cool car, by all means. But if you think you're buying a Tesla and you're saving the world, you have to do a little bit more research on that. But Al Gore, again, really bad guy, says that his climate trace format or framework is the perfect solution to hold corporations in line with ESG standards. So this is what it's about. He says, I've got since I mentioned Larry Fink, I got to pull in a quote from him, from BlackRock. He says, it's important to recognize that net zero demands a transformation of the entire economy. Net zero. Okay. Again, net zero kills everybody. Transformation of the entire economy. You know, that's a communist theme. Whenever you start hearing people talking about transformation of society, transformation of the economy, you're getting into language that is communistic. In their writings, in their teachings, they talk about transformations, talk about transforming people. You're going to transform yourself. Society is going to transform. They're kind of half right. It is going to transform, but not in like a Transformers sort of way where you become something awesome and then fly off and save the world. You're going to be transformed into living in a yurt, eating grasshoppers. That's where this is going. Be very careful of the transformation that you're about to embark on, because it may transform you from a person living in a house to a person living under a bridge. But BlackRock is leading this. Vanguard and State Street are on board too. So, you know, they've got pictures of Larry Fink with a goat somewhere on Epstein's island. They've got that loaded up into the Dropbox folder, just waiting to be released if this guy gets on the wrong side. Let's talk about some of the implications of this, because there's this is, it's just one thing when Al Gore is talking about wanting, about doing this and ESGs, and it's all very kind of, it's all very airy-fairy. You don't really know what to make of it yet. But let's just extrapolate out where this is headed, because I think it's important to understand they're not stopping with countries. They're clearly not going to stop with countries. In fact, let's be honest, a lot of countries are going to get a free pass, just like ExxonMobil did. You put ExxonMobil in the top 10 of the list of companies that are best for the environment. Let's talk about all of the pollution that has been involved with that. It's clearly a scam, right? So the United States military is exempt from this. They pollute more than like 30 countries combined. Countries that get on the wrong side of us will automatically they'll be demonized for their carbon output. I'm going to get to that towards the end. It's already happening. Countries that are loyal to us, America, the American empire, the globalist empire, they will magically get good scores, be like, I'll tell you what though, I bet North Korea's carbon output ought to put them at the top, wouldn't you think? Like, they should be number one. There's no output going on there. They don't even have cows for cow farts, right? But the implications of the climate trace program are truly diabolical when you start to think of the social credit system aspect of this, and how and where carbon will be. Your carbon usage will be measured, tracked. It'll be rationed. We're talking about your car. We're talking about your home, obviously. Smart thermostats, we've already seen that. Nest is the company that built the smart thermostats, later bought by Google. So you've got You've got Nest thermostats that are smart, internet connected, Wi-Fi connected. They can be set by somebody else to not allow you to lower the temperature. You know, it's 105 outside during the summer, and you're like, I want to set my air conditioning down to 74, and they're like, no, your carbon output is far too high for that. We'll let you set it down to 84, and you go, 84 might as well be 94. I don't want it that. I want it at 74. I pay the air conditioning. I pay my bills. I want it. That's what I want. No, you don't get that. That's why they want smart grids and smart boxes on your homes as well. They want to be able to monitor the energy that you're using, not because they just are interested and curious about it. They want to monitor it so that they can manage it. They want to manage you, okay? Small businesses will be affected by this massively. We saw what happened during COVID, what they did to small and medium-sized businesses. Bob's hardware store was forced to close down while Home Depot right down the street was open. They want to destroy small businesses. We know that. Think of how they could skew this game to make it so that that Climate Trace with their satellites starts to focus on your company and says, you know, the satellites tell us that you're putting way too much carbon out in your manufacturing plant. Your little manufacturing plant. You make car windows or something. You know, you just a kind of a semi-small business. You make car windows and you have a little, you know, you've fallen on their radar. On their satellite radar, their actual radar, and they've decided you're putting too much carbon out. You have to cut that by 70%. There goes your business. There it goes. And if you think that can't happen, again, what did they do during COVID? Or they'll come up with ridiculous modifications that you have to make to your business in order to lower your output. And there'll be things like, you know, like the equivalent of like catalytic converters on cars, you know, like you have to install this expensive device. You have to. We're not going to renew your license next year for this business that you're running if you don't do this. You've got to get this new modification. It's going to cost you $120,000. You have to, holy shit, I didn't budget for this. You've got to do it or we'll shut you down. You know, like restaurants had to do during COVID. We make you put all this plexiglass up, take all your tables, move them outside, then cover those tables. And now you've got an outdoor dining that's totally covered, just like the indoor dining. And you've got to do that or your restaurant can't open, and you spend $100,000 to modify your restaurant to do some stupid shit that you have to jump through hoops for because they tell you have to do it or they won't let you operate. That's where this is going. It's behavior modification. It's behavior modification on a small business level, on a personal level. They want you to think about this differently. They're going to guilt you. They're going to threaten you. They're going to fine you. They're going to demonize you. They're going to do whatever they can to make you feel guilty about this and feel like a shitty person for not wanting to save the planet to get to carbon zero, which will literally kill everybody. It is insane, but that's what they're doing. Now, the final goal for this, the end game, as we understand it, is an individual carbon footprint for you. They want a way to figure out a calculator of sorts to quantify your individual carbon output. We've talked about ESG credit cards from MasterCard, partner of the World Economic Forum, that is reading what you buy at the grocery store and giving you a score based on that. You buy too much meat. You always buy too much meat and use your MasterCard. And we know that, and that's bad. So all that stuff is being tracked. Now you may say, they're never going to be able to monitor what I buy or eat or where I travel. That's insane. That's a fantasy of theirs. They'll never be able to get to that. Well, Alibaba Group President J. Michael Evans says they already have it. It's not even on the drawing board anymore. He says they've got it. In China. He would know. He's the president. They've got it. This isn't on the drawing board. This is reality. I'm going to read a quote from Al Gore. This is from COP26, the talking about Climate Trace Coalition. And if you want to hear more, I did a show with Whitney Webb on Unlimited Hangout about COP26. If you want to go to her website, unlimitedhangout.com, or subscribe to her show, you can go back through. I think I've been on there like three times or so. But one of them specifically, we talked about COP26, and this is from Al Gore at that event. He said, "We can now accurately determine where the greenhouse gas emissions are coming from, and we'll have the identities of the people who are responsible for each of those greenhouse gas emission streams. And if investors or governments or civil society activists want to hold them responsible, they will have the information upon which to base their action in holding them responsible." They're watching. And he has just come out and said, we've got the information if you want to shame them. If you want to hold them responsible. What does hold them responsible mean, Al Gore? Murder them? Burn their houses down? What are you talking? That sounds like a threat to me. So, the Climate Trace Coalition is very dangerous because they're watching you. They have the identities of the people that are responsible for the greenhouse gas events. Oh, you're going to go drag the CEO of ExxonMobil out of his house and beat him to death? No. Oh, no. Top 10. You, because you bought a steak last night and drove your car there to the steakhouse with your family. Might even have to shoot your daughter because she had a steak as well. We have the identities of the people responsible. And if investors or governments or civil society what's a civil society activist? A paid Soros informant wants to hold them responsible. We have the information. Go get those people. They're destroying the world. Do you see how this is going to work? They will be rounding you up if your credit score is too high. So, they plan on tracking and tracing emission sources and reporting on, quote, not just national subsector estimates, but asset level data, individual power plants, factories, ships, planes, farms, and so on around the world. What does "and so on" mean? Power plants, factories, ships, planes, farms, and so on. You know, people. Here's where it gets really scary. You're like, Jesus, it's been scary for the first 20 minutes. Here's where it actually gets scary. Because AI machine learning approach to tracking emissions is using its Google, Pentagon, D-Wave AI systems, plus the 300 satellites. So it is, quote, constantly evolving, improving, and collecting more data to get more and more detailed over time. So now it's not even about Steve working at the Climate Trace corporation who's making a determination on whether or not they go after you. It's artificial intelligence. This is where Eric Schmidt comes in. This is where Gore's got the climate stuff. and Eric Schmidt to an extent as well. But Al Gore is the godfather. Eric Schmidt is the godfather. It is most definitely not a delicious Reese's peanut butter cup. It is tyranny. It is the ability to use computers to plow through trillions of data points of information to come up with a score for you. Corporations, countries, as they said, at the asset level, your factory has a score. The ship that you own has a score. The plane that you fly in has a score. The farm that you own has a score. Your farm's producing too much, your score is a little too high at that farm. We're going to have to remove the nitrogen fertilizer that you're using by 30%, like they're doing in the Netherlands, like they're proposing in Canada. They're saying it here. Asset level data on individual power plants, factories, ships, planes, and farms, and so on, of course, leaving it wide open for the and so on to be everything. Everything gets a score. So, you want to know their mission? This is their mission. According to their website, we harness satellite imagery and other forms of remote sensing, artificial intelligence, and collective data science expertise to track human-caused GHG emissions as they happen. Greenhouse gas emissions as they happen. Did you notice the word in there? 2 words, technically. Human-caused. Human-caused greenhouse gas emissions. Again, those 2 words right there is how you know this is a scam. Because if it were about emissions in general, volcanoes and whatnot, you would think they would want to capture that information as well. I mean, you're worried about a farm. You're not worried about that Icelandic volcano that threw up more carbon in the atmosphere than all of mankind combined? You're going to lecture us? You want to reduce fertilizer usage in a farm by 30%, but you don't care about volcanoes? You don't care about volcanoes because you can't do anything about volcanoes. You can't tax that volcano. You can't make that volcano pay you a carbon tax. You can't make that volcano do what you want it to do, but you can with human-caused. They don't care about global warming. They don't care about carbon in the atmosphere in general. They only care about that very specific part, human-caused, because they want to manage you and get you to pay a carbon. If it was really about the environment, they'd care about all of it. They only care about the smallest part of it. That's how you know it's a scam. It's just, it up. So, there are 50 collaborating organizations across 38 different industries that are participating in this right now. They have 300 satellites. They have 11,000 sensors that are being utilized right now. This is not like on the drawing boards. This is happening. This is happening now. This is going to be a real big problem. So let's talk about who's involved in this, who the members are. University, of course. I mean, they're involved in all of this. Whenever there is a globalist-backed scam, you'll find Johns Hopkins. Whether it's the vaccine, COVID, running the Event 201, running spars, all of this shit. It's always Johns Hopkins. Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory. They're the co-leads on this, right? They are talking about emissions from road transportation, so they're partnered with the Department of Defense on this. So again, not good. So more members. So you've got Johns Hopkins. You've got another group called Blue Sky Analytics. They are satellite data with ground measurements. Okay. Hey, well, that's nothing nefarious about that. Who's their financial backers? Just the World Bank. Okay. We've got Earthrise Media. They are a philanthropic organization. Using satellite data to mitigate climate change. Automatic disqualification. When you start talking about mitigating climate change, it's knows how to read the translation, goes, oh, so you're in the scam business. Yeah. Well, who's involved with you? Just the NASA deputy administrator. I mean, if anyone would know a good scam, it would be the NASA deputy administration, like those people. You've got a company called Ocean Mind. They are involved in modeling emissions from shipping activity and the seafood industry. By the way, I'm going to go down this list and you're going to notice a theme. And it is modeling emissions, which is code for guessing about numbers. Neil Ferguson, isn't he the hysteric in, am I getting my Neils confused? The guy in the UK who does all of the climate, or does all the monkeypox, COVID numbers, and he's the guy that said like 70 million people are all going to die, and they're like, how many people died? And they're like 40. He's the guy that makes all these fake models. You can make models say anything you want. I'm talking about modeling, computer models. Let's see. Oh, by the way, Ocean Mine, they're partnered with Microsoft. Who started Microsoft? Bill Gates. Okay. Hypervine.io, modeling emissions from mining, mineral, and extraction activity. They are funded by the European Space Agency. So we've got NASA, we've got the European Space Agency. This is not setting my mind at ease at all. We've got a group called RMI, Rocky Mountain Initiative, modeling emissions from oil refining and gas production. They merged with a company called Carbon War Room, who is run by Richard Branson, who may or may not be a pedophile owning an island in the Virgin Islands, Necker Island. Governments, companies, and members of civil society seeking to support the shift to zero carbon. Transition zero. We're shifting to zero carbon. Again, zero carbon means zero plants, zero people. They want you dead. They want you depopulated. CEO of Transition Zero? Oh, no, nobody. Just a guy that's a member of the World Economic Forum. And the company is funded by Google. Oh, and by Bloomberg. Was Satan unavailable for that round of financing? Holy shit. And Transition Zero has a group that they've partnered alongside called Watt Time, W-A-T-T, Watt Time. Again, modeling emissions from the power sector. Partners with Microsoft, financed by Google. So all of these members have a couple things. Well, they have one thing in common. They like to model emissions, create computer models to track emissions in a variety in a specific industry. So you've got the power sector, you've got the oil refining and gas sector, mining and mineral extraction, shipping, and seafood industry, and then just general look. They're going to make the models say whatever they want them to say. If they want it to say that the mining and mineral extraction industry is out of control with their carbon emissions, they can make it say that. All they have to do is numbers, change the code a little bit, measure something one way instead of measuring it the other way. Work. Who's the arbiter of this? Who's going to come in and say, these numbers are all bullshit? Because I know what they're going to do. They're going to go, look at the satellites. We got this from the satellites, man. This is the numbers. This is, again, you can make these numbers say whatever you want them to say. If you want them to make it look like there's a climate emergency because of carbon and it's all coming out of the mining and mineral extraction industry and you want to shut them all down, you can do that. You just have to make that decision. They're already going to be saying that oil refining and gas production's out of control with their carbon emission. Probably is. But again, like I said, Icelandic volcano trumps everything that we've ever done as humanity, including all the dirty extraction of coal and extraction of gasoline and all the byproducts and all the stuff that gets polluted into the atmosphere. I live on this planet. I want the planet to be clean. I want the planet to be pollution free. I want the planet to be healthy and all the systems of this beautiful planet that we're living on to be working well. I don't want there to be rain. I'm not just some guy who says, fuck it, I don't care. Smoking my big cigar, flying or lighting it with $100 bills, flying on private jets saying, I don't care about the environment. I do care about the environment. This isn't about the environment. This is about a scam. It's not about saving the planet. But they can very easily push you into a Green New Deal where you can only have electric cars and nobody is allowed to fly anywhere unless you have a private jet like Al Gore, Eric Schmidt do. Once they decide that the oil refining and gas production component is polluting far too much and they all have to be shut down. Modeling emissions from the power sector. You're just using too much power. Our satellite said so. Climate Trace, we plugged it. Climate Trace it has the satellites. They were looking at you. You pollute too much. You use too much power. We're going to, in order to get you in compliance with where you need to be, we're going to reduce the power flow to your house by 75%. Welcome to third world status. So who are the funders of this? Got to follow money, right? That's rule number one. Well, Al Gore, of course, he's in it. And Eric Schmidt, Schmidt Futures is the company, but it's Eric Schmidt. Google.org, it's the charity arm of Google in air quotes. They're so charitable, The Beneficus Foundation, that's a new one. Probably don't hear too much about that, but I'll tell you why you might know a little bit more about it than you think you know. You don't know that name. But it is the family foundation set up by John Doerr. And John Doerr is one of the partners in Kleiner Perkins, Caulfield and Byers. And that is, we did that on the episode, The Creature from Sand Hill Road, talking about the venture capital firms. Now, John Doerr's worth $12.7 billion. Okay. He's fucking loaded. But the company he works for, Kleiner Perkins, Caulfield Byers, is In-Q-Tel connected, the venture capital arm of the CIA. We've done, like I said, if you want to go back and listen to that episode, you can get into more. Al Gore is an advisor for Kleiner. They have invested in Beyond Meat. Nest thermostats. Here we go. Google, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Spotify, Amazon, all the big ones. They're involved. John Doerr is the author of a book. Would you like to know the title of the book? Speed and Scale, an action plan for solving our climate crisis now. He's in the club. He is a member of Breakthrough Energy Coalition. We talked about them before. Remember that bio milk that Bill Gates was putting out, the fake breast milk? That company? And you go, bio milk? This is crazy. Weird weird timing. We're having formula shortages, and then all of a sudden Bill Gates announces this bio milk company that he's funded through this group called Breakthrough Energy Coalition. Remember, I went into that and I go, well, who's Breakthrough Energy Coalition? Let's get to the bottom of this and see who the investors are in that. It's Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Richard Branson, and George fucking Soros. In case you were wondering if they were good guys or bad guys, if Breakthrough, are these guys on the right side of humanity or the wrong side? Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, George Soros. Does that answer your question? Because it should. There's also another group involved called Generation Investment Management. This is a climate-focused hedge fund, so you know it's filled with bullshit. And it is founded by Al Gore and David Blood. David Blood? That's an unusual. I've never heard of that. Who is he? Is he a good guy or a bad guy? He's the former CEO of Goldman Sachs Asset Management. Bad guy. He is part of the principals group of Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, with his partner in that, Larry Fink from BlackRock. And you know what their mission is? Transforming the world through ESG initiatives. There's that word, transforming, again. It's almost like they're just reading it out of the Communist Manifesto. Probably because they are. Now, this Generation Investment Management company was started almost 20 years ago, 2004. And it's got $24 billion under management. They are... Look, it's one thing to have the idea for Climate Trace. But it's quite another thing to have the money, the expertise, the know-how to do that. They've got all of it. This is happening. Climate Trace is happening. It's not on the drawing board. It's not theoretical. It's operational. It is the backbone of ESG. It is the framework in which ESG will be built upon. It's the tracking system. See, you can't have ESG working properly unless you have the tool for measuring the carbon output of everything. That's what Climate Trace is. It's that tool for measuring it. See, once you can measure everything, then you can see how it stacks up versus what the allowable amount of carbon output is. Otherwise, it's just, like I said, early on, India self-reporting, whatever. They go, well, we're at 9. And you go, well, you're really 90,000. You go, oh, well, we were close. Now, self-reporting goes out the window. Satellite reporting is the new thing. Climate Trace is going to be in charge of it. And if you get on the wrong side of them, they're going to report that your carbon output is a hell of a lot more than it really is. Climate Trace will also be this is from their website, will also be a critical tool for advocates working to hold governments and the private sector accountable to their emission reductions pledge. Again, sounds like a threat to me. We're going to be holding you accountable in a good way? In a bad way? Okay. We've been going through the reduction of fertilizer in Europe, talking about it in Canada. Mentioned that a couple times already in this episode, but you know what I'm talking about. With that in mind, I want you to hear what they're talking about on their website and think about it. Like, put on the worst, allow yourself to be the worst person in the world for a second and just think of it and think of what they're talking about here. Quote, rice emissions are higher than previously thought in several countries, and in India's case, may be nearly double the official inventory, perhaps even higher. They want the justification to stop the growing of rice under the guise of your rice emissions are just too high. They're higher than previously thought. And in India's case, maybe even double. You know, our satellites say that your rice emissions are pretty high, India. They're like, yeah, we've got 1.5 billion people to feed. Rice is the most, it's the staple of most diets, especially in Asia. Yeah, but we're going to need you to cut that by about 40%. They're like, do you want half of our population to starve to death? They're like, yes. Yes. Because remember, David Rockefeller, Maurice Strong, Al Gore. What do they all have in common? Besides climate? Justification. Fake justification, of course, but in their eyes, scientific justification for saving the world. But our people will starve. Hey, saving part of your population to just up and die. Here's more from their website. Quote, road transport emissions are higher than previously estimated in several countries. In Russia's case, by potentially as much as 70%. Russia, of course. Get on the wrong side of these people and all your road transportation emissions are too high and they have to be shut down. Now there goes your trucking industry. Get on the wrong side of these people and you will magically have your emissions 3 times what they should normally be. But it's all on the up and up, I'm sure. Al Gore wouldn't lie to you. Here's another one. Forest fire emissions have more than doubled in Russia and the United States since 2015. Stop using directed energy weapons on them then. But look, I want to go back to the 2 quotes before that. When they say, in India's case, maybe nearly double the official inventory, perhaps even higher. And they also say that road transportation emissions are higher than previously estimated in several countries, in Russia's case, by potentially as much as 70%. This is qualifying language. When you say potentially as much as 70%, when you say may be nearly double, perhaps even higher, this is bullshit. Words matter. Look at the language. They're not saying they are higher. They're saying they may be higher. They're saying perhaps even higher. They're saying potentially as much as 70%. It's all very amorphous, you know? Well, it could be higher. Is it higher or not? Could be. Well, how much higher is it? Could be double. No shit. Potentially, perhaps even higher. Well, what is it? It's whatever they want it to be. That's the answer. Your output, your carbon output, is whatever they want it to be. They control the satellites. They control the information. Are you going to go to court and say, our output's much lower? And they'll say, well, they have the satellite information. What do your satellites tell you? You go, I run a windshield manufacturing company. I don't have satellites. I just know I'm not producing that much. Based on how many windshields I make, based on how much I ship them, based on all this stuff, these numbers are bullshit. And you want me to install some new machine to quantify the carbon? And fuck you, I'm not doing it. I'll go out of business if I do that. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Good. So let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up with this. There's no more self-reporting of carbon emissions by countries now that Climate Trace is the new global police force. That self-reporting or that these estimates, or we took a look at their oil and gas industry and we think that it might be around this much. No. All of that speculation, all of that is going away. Instead, you're now going to get a specific number, and that is going to be from their satellites, and the global police force are going to tell you what that number is, and that's the number. First, it's countries, then it's sectors of the countries, then asset level, power plants, factories, ships, and planes. Then it's you. Because as you know, you are the carbon that they wish to reduce. If you like this episode, you can take the additional step right now of sharing it with your friends and family. If you want to connect with me, you can do so through the website, theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com. You can follow me on Twitter @macroaggressions. Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you again soon.